back to Weather Nation. A happy 4th of July to you. You can see that in our weather headlines, we are looking at some hot weather continuing, as is the case for many of us here on this hot 4th of July. I'm meteorologist Steve Glazier. Well, some relief coming into the central United States as we go forward here into the latter half of the week and into this upcoming weekend will result in a few thunderstorms. So I do want to address that to keep you as safe as possible. But we begin with the heat alerts, expansive as they still are here across a lot of the midsection of the country, from parts of the Northeast through the Midwest, Central, and even parts of the Southern U.S. and High Plains, where for the rest of Wednesday, July 4th, we have the heat index, or the heat index values, the feels like temperature approaching some unsafe levels, especially if you're a little more sensitive to it. So far Wednesday, we have hit high temperatures unofficially of 97 in Nashville, 95 Memphis, 94 in St. Louis. The thing that this does not include is the factor of the sunshine shining down on us and the actual relative humidity, which makes it feel as hot as 5 to 15 degrees on top of those numbers. Throughout the night on Wednesday evening, a big bubble of high pressure through the Ohio Valley is the heat dome, you can kind of think of it as. It's protecting us from severe weather, but it is giving us very hot conditions. A few isolated storms are possible here along I-40, also into the high plains, into Nebraska, where we do have a slight risk of severe storms, into Iowa. But as you can see, it's kind of a void right here. Just watch for a couple of stronger storms this evening from Chattanooga to Memphis. And again, not much activity, not much relief from the heat in St. Louis. Lows not really getting a lot below 80 degrees in St. Louis on Thursday morning. That's it, 77 Nashville, 76 in Kansas City. So it's going to be a warm start to the day. And in terms of rainfall, we'll expect a few more thunderstorms compared to Wednesday. This is upcoming for the 5th of July here for Thursday. More likely from Chicago to Peoria, Indianapolis, to Toledo, Cincinnati, and Columbus through the mid-afternoon. All along this front, this is the relief from some of the heat, cooler weather, but it will spawn a few thunderstorms from the Great Lakes to the Ohio Valley on the day Thursday. Some cities here from Kirksville, just north of St. Louis, Peoria, Chicago, Indianapolis, South Bend, Toledo, and Columbus, just to name a few. When we have a marginal risk, that means a few isolated severe storms are possible, winds up to 60 miles an hour, a low tornado risk, but again, never want to let our guard down at all. High temperatures still hot ahead of the front, 90 to 95. Some of the hottest cities for Thursday, Nashville, Memphis, Evansville, St. Louis, and Cape Girardeau, all on either side of 95 degrees. So on Friday, this front continues to press farther south to the Ohio Valley, Tennessee valleys, where it will still spawn some thunderstorms. Different cities this time for Friday afternoon, from Cape Girardeau over to Lexington, also to Nashville, Knoxville, Chattanooga by the afternoon hours. At night, pushing down fairly well to the south. It's going to allow for a fairly nice setup on the day on Saturday. Cooler humidity levels and overall feels like temperatures, that is, as well. Thunderstorms move out of Ohio, Indianapolis, Indiana, into Illinois. For most of those states, they move into Lexington. Looks like general thunderstorms for now, but look at some of the cooler numbers here. These are high temperatures on Friday. 78 Chicago, 82 Indianapolis, 80 Toledo. It'll be a bit of a breath of fresh air for you if you're not a fan of the blistering heat. High pressure centered over Michigan on Saturday will give us a mainly clear sky. No need to pause the movie. If we do get a shower, it would be a surprise. It would be kind of out of the norm kind of thing on Saturday with generally nice conditions. Look at these temperatures back into the 70s to 80s for a lot more of us. Still pretty warm into Kansas. As the front moves through, could drop a quick inch or two of rainfall. Not a huge flooding concern since it's on the move, but again, heat safety tips. Always want to stay hydrated, especially with the good liquids. You want to avoid exposure in the sun for prolonged amount of times, and especially if you're more sensitive to it, do anything that requires exercise or exertion early in the day when it's cooler. Kansas City, you can see temperatures dropping back closer to the average high of 87, but look at it next week. It heats right back up. So Chicago, enjoy a cooler Friday, the high 78. You'll be on the upswing as well for next week. Cleveland from 90 to 77 for Saturday. Into Paducah, Kentucky we go. The thunderstorms arriving here on Friday, but pushing out for the weekend. And in Chattanooga, hanging around though a little bit longer there for you on Saturday.
glad you could join us here on the 4th of July. Weather playing a very important role in your day and your plans. And that's why we're here, to make sure that you are informed and know where the danger zones are going to be, whether it's rip currents at the beach or thunderstorms that produce flooding moving into your neighborhoods.
And unfortunately, we have to do a deal with a few weather-related hazards today. Just for instance, along the North Carolina coast, there have been, between Wrightsville and Carolina Beach, about 45 water rescues for rip currents. Just one example of the one of the hazards today.
And definitely, even if it's a medium to low risk, you still have to keep in mind, it just takes one rip current to put your life in danger.
And we have an important tropics update as well. Increasing chance of development here across the Atlantic. So we'll talk about that in just a few moments. Do want to let you know where we did leave off with. You looked at a webcam there from Houston, where things are clearing up, but we still have an extension of the flash flood watch, which was in effect until about the 4 or 5 o'clock hour this Wednesday. Now it's extended until 9 o'clock local time here this evening. And what this means is for you to watch out for additional flooding as a few leftover rain bands continue to work their way through and again slowly wind down. We'll get the alert off, show you where the radar is looking like. Again, you can see that a lot of the rain has moved over into San Antonio, Austin, and over to San Marcos along I-35. We again still have to watch a few of these lingering bands. If they can rotate through, it won't take much additional rain to cause any additional flooding. But up to the north, we have a couple of stronger cells here just to the northeast of Colorado Springs and Denver, Colorado. These are along I-70 and I-76. Of course, in Colorado, that is one of the states you can get some big hail, so we have to watch out for that as well. Very big hail here across north central North Nebraska. Let's put on a couple more places. O'Neill, as you can get over to the east of the Valentine. All of these thunderstorms moving in the direction of Sioux City and Sioux Falls with time. And then as we take you over into the upper Midwest, you can see a couple of distinct lines of thunderstorms that are racing to the east toward Lake Michigan. And these are going to be, again, some big wind producers, but also some fairly large lightning producers, anywhere from 300 to 500 lightning strikes in the last 10 minutes. And then we take you again into the northeast, where we do have one lone cell that's a little stronger south of Buffalo. You can see as you get to southeastern Pennsylvania, York, Lancaster, and down parts of West Virginia, we have some thunderstorms that are slowly drifting to south, hoping that that clears up by the time we get you into tonight's fireworks and some hefty downpours in and around the Fort Myers, Florida area. We do want to get a tropical weather update, and we're going to show you some video here from Florida, where you can see again from Weather for Taylor, dark clouds, menacing sky. Appears to be a funnel cloud of sorts right there yesterday, but some scary sights there.
Very scary sights, and we'll have to watch the tropics extremely closely as we get into the next couple of days, because we do not have one but two areas in the Atlantic that could be our next two named storms of the Atlantic season. Now, the one up near Bermuda, this is to the south, 60% chance of developing as it follows around that Bermuda high, but also we have a 50% chance of one of the waves coming off the African coast as it continues to move toward the Lesser Antilles. Pretty far out still, but both of these moving into an area where it is looking more and more likely that we will see storm development within the next week. So definitely want to stay with us here on Weather Nation. Of course, if we do have any named storms, we'll let you know right away. We'll talk about that in just a second, but I do want to show you this tropical wave as it moves off to the west. We'll have to watch especially near Barbados and in the eastern Caribbean, San Juan. Again, we're watching it for development. It's not a named storm just yet, but the trend would continue to take it straight due west. So from Barbados all the way up to San Juan, you definitely want to monitor the forecast as we get into the end of the weekend, but also into the beginning of next week. And we'll bring you the latest on that. When we're talking about an invest, it's an area that we're watching in the tropics, so it's not a tropical depression just yet. We're talking unorganized, but it's in that area where we could see development as we get into the next week. But they don't always become named storms. Sometimes they just sort of go into an area and they dissipate very quickly. So it's still an investigation. We're still watching it. But if both of those storms were named, the first would be Beryl, and then the second one would be Chris. And we're not seeing too much action so far in this season, which is a good thing. We're keeping our fingers crossed that's how it stays for us. But it's a completely different story if you go to the Eastern Pacific. Fabio is a Category 1 hurricane. It has weakened, which is good news, moving away from land. But behind it, we do have a couple of areas of some moisture. You can see we'll be watching that as well. And Fabio is expected to continue to weaken as it moves out over the ocean. Good news there with Fabio. Coming up, we'll talk more about your forecast as we get into the evening for the fireworks shows, but also what you can expect toward the end of the week.
Welcome back into Weather Nation. As you can see, a certainly wet day here in Houston, Texas, to say the least. We have had a lot of rainfall, more than 4 inches as of this afternoon here in parts of Houston. You can see some of the heavy water flows into Houston as well. Time-lapse photography coming out from earlier Wednesday. All that rain's got to go somewhere, right? And it does channel down in some of the flood control areas, but also some of that overflows and is a little bit of excessive amount. I'm meteorologist Steve Glazier here with your South Regional forecast. I want to update you on the heavy rain that we have had in the Houston metro, explain what's going on, where it is on the move, and also talk about the rest of the July 4th forecast here in terms of what we have going on. Well, the good thing is the heavy rain is moving out of the area. Just a few more hours left for some of us, and that system should be moving out. But we still do have some daily pop-up thunderstorms, some of which may be severe into the rest of the week that we have to keep our close eye on. As you can see, over the last 24 hours, Houston has had more than 4 inches of rainfall locally in just a day's worth of time. So a lot here. Outside that gauge, you can see yellows, oranges, and reds, which will correlate to 1.5 inches to as much as 4 inches. Fairly localized here across the southeastern coast of Texas. It's on the move. It's moving westbound, and it could still help spark a couple of severe thunderstorms into the evening between Waco and San Antonio, including Austin, along I-35, so that is something to watch. The thing that's been responsible for this is a weak surface low that is now meandering west through Texas. As you can see, through 6 Central this evening, we still have some scattered thunderstorms into parts of Louisiana, most concentrated to the west of Houston, so moving out by the time the sun sets, hopefully by the time firework displays are scheduled to go off, and then by Wednesday evening, and the latter half of the evening toward 10 o'clock at midnight, the thunderstorms rotating between San Antonio, Corpus Christi, and Laredo should be wrapping up quite quickly by dawn. Overnight temperatures back into the middle 70s to near 80 degrees, with exception there Amarillo at 68 degrees. We have another weak low that's on its way. It'll pop up right here, just off the coast of New Orleans here for Thursday. You will see possibly, again, some early leftover rain from that first one. Here comes another low. It's not as strong as this one that we just have, nor is it anything that is a tropical entity, but still, the moisture here is kind of tropical nature. It is just very, very humid in terms of the relative humidity and the dew point temperature. As you can see, scattered thunderstorms are a little bit more likely here into Louisiana through the day Thursday, where we do have a marginal risk of severe weather from New Orleans over to Baton Rouge and also parts of eastern Texas, I should say. And temperatures will be held down a little bit there in New Orleans at 89 degrees. Outside of that, where the sun shines, it'll be about 90 to 95 for Stockton, an exception there at 87. Once again, on Friday morning, fairly quiet, but we'll start to pop up some thunderstorms here at the latter morning to mid-afternoon hours. You'll see it just kind of blossom here fairly regionally, from southern Arkansas through parts of Louisiana, a good chunk of Texas, a little bit less into northwest Texas and Oklahoma. But again, fair coverage of thunderstorms can be expected through Friday evening, and then they diminish at night. So there are what's called our diurnal thunderstorms. They pop up from the heating of the sunshine coupled with the humidity. General thunderstorms, lightning is always our biggest concern this time of the year, but a severe storm or two with some gusty winds can't be ruled out. Highs as hot as 98 in Dallas, Texas on Friday afternoon, 94 in Austin. Saturday, more of the same. See a couple of showers near Corpus Christi, then they kind of bubble up from Shreveport to Abilene and possibly over to about Wichita Falls. Driest to the north, it does appear here into Oklahoma and into Arkansas. Temperatures a little bit cooler here, closer to 85. A little cold front that is swinging southward here, closer to I-40 into Little Rock, Oklahoma City, around 85 degrees, about 95 there in the Dallas-Fort Worth metro. So again, you could still have a few more inches of rain in the Houston metro. I think a lot of this has already fallen, but it does show the extent as that moves west. It could drop again as much as 2 to 4 additional inches of rain. Never like to be pessimistic, but with the lightning storms around the rest of this week, I want you to be safe. Unfortunately, July leads the monthly calendar for most lightning-related fatalities. So when you hear thunder, head indoors. As you can see in Dallas, Texas, we will have heat and a couple of storms for Friday, Saturday, drying out on Sunday. Calm conditions fairly for Tulsa, though a little bit of a cool down. So you may notice that here with temperatures falling through the 90s. Into Little Rock we go. Drier weekend with highs 85 to 90 degrees. And into New Orleans, looks like some wetter weather here. Daily thunderstorms. Again, when you see lightning or hear thunder, head inside. a very happy 4th of July here to you from everybody at Weather Nation. Hopefully you're having a great holiday so far. We want to keep you safe and updated with what we have going on weather-wise here across the area. And we take you right into the nation's capital, nearby cities, where we do have some thunderstorms going on.
Hopefully those will really start to die out as we get into the evening with all the fireworks shows. But unfortunately, some areas looking like you will have to deal with that as we get into the forecast.
Well, we have a few more hours for most of these cities to light off their fireworks, and hopefully, again, the trends are for decreasing, but I'd watch those carefully here into Washington, Philadelphia as well. Current forecast, these should clear out of Philadelphia. 84 degrees, muggy, 84 after sunset. It'll feel close to 90.
Might be a good ponytail night, ladies. Just saying.
You heard it right there. Some words of encouragement. Into western Florida, you can see general unsettledness. This is no surprise here across this area with thunderstorms in Fort Myers. Chance of them tonight.
And we'll be watching that closely for you. Of course, if you do hear thunder, you want to get indoors because that means lightning is close enough to strike. So just a simple reminder, even if you are at a fireworks show outdoors, you want to make sure you're paying attention to weather, just like we're doing also across the upper Midwest, where you can see those showers and thunderstorms moving through places like Green Bay. Duluth, though, looking like it will clear up pretty nicely for you as well in the forecast. We're looking at 85 degrees, partly cloudy skies, light wind there for you.
In Chicago, another toasty one, and this one looks to stay dry as well. So we'll have another update throughout the night tonight on our fireworks, but another top story here, as you can tell, is the heat in many cities.
Heat is on, and you need to be prepared for it. So let's go over that forecast. I want to make sure to break it all down for you as we go over where those heat alerts are, and we'll continue. It says of heat warning for the rest of today, Columbus to Portsmouth, even Parkersburg. This is going to include Zanesville, so if you're anywhere in southern Ohio, it's going to be a hot rest of the day because once the sun goes down, it's still going to be pretty warm. Just keep that in mind. And you can see the feels-like temperature across Ohio in the 80s and 90s and even into the triple digits in some spots. That's why we do have those alerts in place. Chicago feeling like we're at 93, 102 in St. Louis. And those heat alerts, look at this. We're talking millions of people under heat alerts on the 4th of July. And those temperatures, we've already seen the peak of the day. But as I mentioned, it's going to take a little bit of time before things really start to cool down and where you're having showers and storms. It is going to be a very muggy evening ahead for those fireworks shows. Heat index 90s to triple digits across pretty much the entire eastern part of the country. 86 in Orlando. Feels like it's 100 degrees in New Orleans. And we've been following the frontal system too. And you can see as we get into, we've had throughout the day some showers and thunderstorms. And just taking a look, we've had some strong to severe storms even pop up with damaging winds and hail possible. Now for the rest of today, that severe outlook is going to be from North Platte, even including the Denver metro going up to Minneapolis and Green Bay. Anywhere here in the dark green and yellow, we can't rule out damaging wind gusts, large hail, and even a spin-up tornado as these storms continue to fire up into the evening. So for some areas, North Platte, Sioux Falls, as we get into your evening, we're going to have to keep an eye in the sky, especially with those, those fireworks shows taking place. And then things start to quiet down for the Dakotas and Minnesota as we get into early Thursday. We'll still see some of those storms holding together. And then across the Northeast, we will have that continue. You'll notice those showers and storms firing up again Thursday evening, overnight into Friday morning. And then we're going to see another round of showers and thunderstorms on Friday across the Northeast from Washington, D.C. to Boston by your lunchtime. The forecast heat index, too, you're going to still see it be steaming as we get into Thursday afternoon. But in addition to seeing the heat, we've also seen elevated fire danger. And as a result, we're going to be watching that closely. Current conditions in Denver, 86 with thunderstorms in the forecast.
And we do take you to Fairplay, Colorado. Epic sunset last night here. Kind of scary here with those thunderstorms, potentially even creating new fires. That's something you have to watch across the dry southwest. In Denver, Colorado, may have some thunderstorms in the vicinity for fireworks tonight. We'll have to keep an eye on it. And tomorrow, 85 degrees with the chance of some thunderstorms. And the big fire, third largest now officially in Colorado history, is the Spring Fire at nearly 100,000 acres here across southern Colorado near the vicinity of Alamosa, Pueblo, and as you get into just north of New Mexico. So you can see some of the bigger fires, Spring Creek Fire, also the 416 in Colorado, and the Buzzard Fire in New Mexico. And the West Coast, the Boxcar Fire in Oregon is certainly the largest, but the County Fire in California is rather large as well with little containment. So probably all eyes on that one there in California. All right, coming up next, we're going to talk about where we have seen excessive rain in Houston. Update on the alerts.
glad that you can join us here on Weather Nation. I wish we had a better view from earlier, kicking off the 4th of July holiday. But unfortunately, thunderstorms bringing in the day. But if you want to look on the positive side, Mother Nature bringing her own fireworks to parts of North Dakota.
I was going to say, the natural fireworks, of course, a little bit scarier. Sometimes you have to watch out for them. But if you're in a safe spot, they can be just as enjoyable just to watch, sit back, free show there as well. You have to pay for parking.
There you go. Look at this. I'll bring the hot dogs.
And I kind of try to be an optimistic kind of person. But hey, happy 4th of July. We're talking about your headlines here in the western United States in our High Plains regional heat. The heat is returning. If you had a little bit of a break there, it is coming back on. Mostly sunny, dry. The fire weather still high across a lot of the western United States. Here across the High Plains, we've cooled down a little bit, but the heat is about to return, especially by Friday. And we will have a few thunderstorms that'll be getting a little bit stronger passing through our neck of the woods. As far as it goes for this evening, in terms of the highest threat and highest potential for thunderstorms, they're going to be across extreme southeastern Wyoming, especially into Nebraska. I would say watch out heavily into Sioux Falls, Norfolk, over to Valentine, North Platte, Grand Island, and Omaha. It looks like the thunderstorms the rest of today will be on the strongest side there as well. As we get to just prior to sunset, so this is getting closer to the firework time frame this evening. Most likely spots for some scattered downpours and thunderstorms closer to the I-29 and possibly I-80 corridor you can see here into northeastern Nebraska. But you see how the activity really lights up here across central Nebraska. This is by 11 o'clock tonight. So this is the area to watch most closely if you're going out for any fireworks or July 4th celebrations, as we could very well have some stronger to locally severe storms. Now, high temperatures today so far have only been in the low 70s to even some upper 60s in a few spots of Montana and into Wyoming. So very comfortable, but the heat is about to return here in a hurry. You can already see far western Wyoming and Montana already warming up significantly. Throughout tonight and over into tomorrow morning for Thursday morning, relatively comfortable for a lot of us. Many of us will be in the 50s and 60s. But look at the warmth and humidity here. Temperatures, Grand Island tonight 69, 74 for the low in Omaha, so it's going to be a warm, soupy summer night with the chance of some of those thunderstorms. As we get you through the day tomorrow, a couple of more thunderstorms are going to pop up here along the line, I would say across southern Nebraska and stretching a little bit in a U shape into Wyoming. So you can see by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we have some widely scattered thunderstorms popping up, especially across Wyoming's higher terrain. So if you're camping, hiking, take that into consideration. Mid-afternoon, thunderstorms fairly likely here with a marginal risk of severe weather. Casper over to Cheyenne and Scottsbluff. Here come the hotter temperatures. Temperatures rising up to about 90 in Billings. Wait until you see Friday. High temperatures back to 85 Pierre. And we're still at 87 in Omaha, but 93 in Missoula, and the source of the heat there. Friday morning, mostly cloudy across Nebraska, yet again with some scattered showers. A little bit more across the Black Hills and southwest South Dakota, and a little bit into western North Dakota by the time Friday afternoon rolls around. Some general thunderstorms expected, where cloud-to-ground lightning will be the biggest threat. But here comes the heat. It really is likely the hottest day for some of us here in northeastern Montana. 100 Glasgow, 99 Miles City, and Billings. As we zoom in for a couple of other locations, you can see that Billings and Miles City upper 90, some of the hottest. Lewistown at 95, Great Falls 97. As a result, a heat advisory is in effect for Friday, so heat-related illnesses are becoming more likely and will become more likely on Friday, so please take it easy there across the hottest sections. Saturday, pretty good-looking day, though it will be fairly warm. We'll have some scattered thunderstorms develop through the afternoon, really not until late in the day, probably not until the evening across parts of North Dakota, stretching into Wyoming. The heat builds over to Rapid City, close to 100. Casper, look at that, 100 degrees. Scottsbluff at 98. We cool just a little bit into Montana. Definitely wettest weather in the forecast now through the weekend. We'll be into Nebraska. Could get locally 1 to 3 inches of rain, but the heat is the big story in Glasgow, Montana. Your average high is 82 degrees, so you can see that we're going to be at 100, well above that. A little bit cooler by the weekend, but still very warm. Bismarck up to about 98. Your average is 82. That's on Saturday, your hottest day there. And Sioux Falls a little bit more seasonable, you could call it there. So some spots getting hotter, but not all, as you can see there. Sioux Falls, though, fairly dry weather forecast. Again, watch for those thunderstorms tonight. Casper, the heat is on into Saturday, and into Bismarck, a few late day storms possible on Saturday.
Thanks so much for joining us here on Weather Nation. Happy 4th of July. It's hard to believe it's finally here. And unfortunately, Mother Nature bringing her own fireworks to some areas and even severe thunderstorms in others. You can see in Colorado right now along I-70, we do have some severe thunderstorm warnings to go over with you. We'll start off here. This one goes until 6:30. The other one to the south of I-70 goes until 6 o'clock. So that one is about to expire. But the biggest threat that we are looking at with some of these storms, especially in this region, going to be for large hail and also damaging winds. Also a pretty strong storm right now that's just to the north of the Denver metro area, right over Fort Lupton. You can see the lightning there. This is to the north of Brighton as well. This is just one area we are following severe storms across the country. Another area going to be in the High Plains region. A watch is possible, severe thunderstorm watch as we get into the next couple of hours. So we'll have to keep a close eye on this for you. But Sioux City, this is all surrounding your neighborhoods. This storm right here goes until 6:15 p.m. Producing large hail and damaging winds. And then we have two storms here to the south of Yankton and Vermilion. This one is moving to the northeast. 6:15 p.m. is when this expires. And then we have 6:15 for the one right behind it. But very, very strong storms with dangerous cloud-to-ground lightning. And then there's also a line right now moving from Iowa and going up into Wisconsin. Near Milwaukee, we do have some thunderstorms, pretty strong storms about to move into you. So Greenfield, Menominee Falls, just a heads up, it's going to get very active in the next couple of hours, as well as Racine. And then down to the south, Joliet, Illinois, we have some thunderstorms there as well as pushing into Rockford. So something we'll be watching throughout the evening. More severe thunderstorm warnings in West Virginia. And we do have one also now that is in Mississippi in the far northern part. But you're also going to see thunderstorm activity across the Sunshine State, which is not a good thing, Steve, as we get into the evening with those fireworks shows. Definitely want to keep an eye in the sky first. And if thunder roars, head indoors. And we're not talking about the thunder from those fireworks.
I know you'll have to differentiate tonight from the booms of fireworks to the booms of lightning bolts. But this is Sibley, Iowa earlier, and you can see a little small hail in there. Usually when some hailstones start to form and you get some ice chunks within, you get some different charges going on from the bottom to the top of the cloud and eventually to the ground, and you start to get some electric storms. And we very well could get some lightning storms here from northeast Colorado all the way up into Wisconsin. The area highlighted in yellow has a slight risk of severe storms. That meaning scattered severe storms are possible with wind gusts 60 to 70 miles per hour and hail up to 1 to 2 inches in diameter. So again, on this festive holiday, want to be very safe and keep you updated here. Be weather aware, definitely every day, but especially today. There is an isolated tornado risk, and the highest potential for tornadoes the rest of today is northeast Nebraska as you get into northwestern Iowa, a little sliver of Minnesota, as you can see right here in the southern end of it. These thunderstorms through this evening, this is about firework time, roughly 9 Central, so a little after sunset, depending on where you are. A majority of the thunderstorms into western Iowa and central Nebraska. That looks to be the core of them tonight, so definitely check in with any fireworks celebrations there. How about the next couple of days? We're watching several areas tomorrow. We're going to take you area by area, see if you're on the list, perhaps if there are any fireworks or celebrations or parades tomorrow. We're looking at Beaumont, Texas to Alexandria, Louisiana, Lafayette, Louisiana, and New Orleans with a marginal risk of severe storms. A wide sweeping area, which may increase to a slight risk. We'll have to see. But for now, it's a marginal risk from northern New England, upstate New York and Utica, down into central Indiana, Indianapolis, and into Chicago. And the last but not least area that we're watching for tomorrow, across the higher terrain. So for hikers and recreational folks in Wyoming and Colorado, get in that hike early. It looks to be at least by 4 o'clock local time, if not by as early as about 1 o'clock. We could have some thunderstorms popping up. By the time we get into Friday, the severe weather threat does shift closer back into the New England coastline. This is a cold front pushing away the heat. Look at this, Cleveland. We go to 90 to 78 via thunderstorms tomorrow. And then we do get, consistently stormy weather there in New Orleans, where we have been tracking some heavy downpours here. One of our other top stories, if you want to see some more video like this, in Houston, Texas, on our social media, Weather Nation, be sure to check us out. You can see that we have flood alerts here into 9 o'clock this evening for the Houston Metro for some additional possible flooding. We will keep you posted on that, as well as new video coming out near Aspen, Colorado. You can see here an update on the wildfires.